Hi everybody, welcome to a Prof. John tutorial on using quotations. This is a perplexing thing for a lot of students, and I think the reason is probably because we don't really focus enough on it early, and we don't have the self-discipline to actually follow through with all the details that are involved in bringing in authors and source material and doing it correctly in the academic style. So that's what the purpose of this tutorial is, so that you have a chance to learn this and then to apply it to everything that you do this semester. I am going to be looking for these things in your discussion posts that they're done correctly. And if you don't do it correctly at a certain point, I'm going to be deducting points for it. So it's best really to focus in on it and learn it early on, and then get the practice this semester of doing it over and over again. Then by the time you finish, you'll really have it cemented in your heads, and you'll be able to do it correctly without, consulting the source material. But I do have this using quotations handout that you see on the right here available to you, so you probably want to use this as a resource early on in the semester until you really learn this and learn it properly. Up at the beginning here, you can see that we've got a punctuating titles of works. Punctuating titles of works is important. If something is a longer piece, like a book-length thing, The Great Gatsby, Citizen Kane, a movie, Cosmopolitan, a magazine, and Atlantic Constitution, those are two actual magazines. So all of these things are considered to be longer works. Longer works are italicized or underlined. Either one is okay. It looks better, obviously, now that we've got computers to italicize them, but whatever you want to do is still MLA okay. Um, if it's a shorter work, it says down here below that, if it's a shorter work, like a short story, a song, or an essay, that kind of thing, articles, then it's going to be in quotation marks. It's not going to be italicized. You're never going to do both. Then you'd be kind of schizophrenic, saying that it can be both things. Well, it's not. It's either long or it's short. So it's either going to be in quotations or it's going to be underlined or italicized. So that's punctuating them. And the next thing that we want to work on is that we want to work on the two patterns that we're going to be dealing with. There's an in pattern for introducing authors and articles, and there's an according to pattern. And you can see with these examples here how they work. In their article, or you could just say in, the three issues in AIDS research. Now, this is a chapter in this book. So a chapter is going to be a shorter work. This is in quotes. This is a book length thing, so it's going to be underlined, or it could be italicized, either one. Then you've got Leon Chung and Marlene Johnson write, comma, and then you've got your quotation, and then you've got your exact quote, you've got an ellipsis at the end, and you got your period inside your quotation mark. There's another example of the in pattern here. Here's an example of the according to pattern. According to Leon Chung and Marlene Johnson in three issues in AIDS research. This is using the same source material, using an according to pattern. Then you've got the current social issues, the book length thing. You've got that in parentheses. Then this one's the trickier one for people to use, because they're very tempted now to go back to the authors and say, they say. You don't want to do that because you've already said that it's according to Leon Chung and Marlene Johnson. So now you go straight to a brand new sentence here. So quotation mark, now that we have three ellipses and a period and end quotation. Notice that in these patterns, it's always people that are doing things. It's never articles or books that make claims. They're just pieces of paper. They cannot make claims. They just don't do it. People do. That's what people are all about. They're all about making claims, making arguments. So now you can see that we've got a table here that shows you how the pattern works. So when we do this, we're just going to sort of punch it in with whatever we're working, like a jigsaw puzzle, put the authors in, put the articles in, make sure that you're paying attention to carefully to the details. Authors' names are always, you need to be careful that you're spelling them correctly. Punctuation of titles is always important. The first word is always capitalized, and all major words in titles are capitalized. Now you can see that in is not capitalized. If you're dealing with somebody else's title, you just go to their title and see what they decided. If it's your own title, then you can make those determinations yourself. It's always going to be a short word like in, and, of, the, those kinds of short words. They're not going to be capitalized. The other words will be. Down here is a very important issue that you want to be aware of, and that's the what's called later references. Now, once you introduce the author or source material the first time, then after that, there are two different characteristics of what's called a later reference. After the first reference, then you always just use the author's last name only. Don't use their first name. And that we don't know them that well. So it's always going to be last name only. And the other aspect of it is that you're never going to mention the title of the works again. You're going to assume that if it's Chung and Johnson Wright, that it comes from that source material that you've already mentioned. The reader assumes that. So you don't want to introduce it again. It just messes up what you're trying to do. So I mentioned already that we want to treat this like a jigsaw puzzle. So over here on the left, I've got two different patterns where we're working with something that we're working on this semester in the readings in the different classes. So in this first one, it's an in pattern. In quotation mark, reclaiming the university for all the people of California, assaulting solidarity, privatizing education. Notice it has a long dash in it. That's according to what they have here. This all has to be exact over here. All of the details have to be very carefully done. Noam Chomsky claims, and then after this you're going to put, if you want to put the exact claim, if it's a quotation, you're going to put a comma, and then you're going to put a quote, and then you're going to put whatever the quote is, and then you're going to put the period and the end quote, because periods and commas go inside of quotations. Now, these are also good for introducing paraphrased elements. So if you paraphrase something, it's not going to be an exact quote, then you would put claims that and no quotation, no comma, and then you're just going to put whatever it is that you're paraphrasing from Noam Chomsky from this, and then a period at the end. Now, the according to, it's according to authors. I said that already. According to authors in A People's History of the United States. Now, here's where we're going to have to go back to a new sentence here. I don't have a quote from him off the top of my head, so a proper US would be from the perspective rather than from the perspective of presidents of the United States, something like that. And then that would be how you do an according to pattern, okay? And of course, if you wanted to, if this were an exact quote, then you put quotation marks here and period inside of the quotation. Now here's a later reference from the first one. Further, Chomsky claims, and then you can have comma and exact quote. According to Zinn, and then you'd have, this is a later reference, we're not going to mention the title, last names only. Okay, I hope that clears it up for you, and you'll be able to utilize these expressions the way that they're done correctly in the academic style. Okay, thanks a lot for listening. See you next time. Bye.